Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be. Welcome back to Out of the Abyss with your hosts, as usual, Lot, Jake, and Pip.
Hello.
Hey, how come I was last?
Yeah, he just kind of flipped it up that time, dude. I was ready to, give my hello earlier, but it's weird.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's just how it rolled off the tongue. Do we reshoot? Is that the line?
No, I think it's fine. It's totally fine.
That's
it's
fine.
A little
That's
Jake
fine.
sandwich, dude.
I could.
Episode 6, we discuss podcast formatting and what order to put names in. No, today, topic that's a little bit more serious than that. Missing 411, or what's wrong with the national parks? Everything is right with them. I love national parks, but
yeah, they're pretty chill, dude.
Oh my god, they're beautiful. That one with that glacial lake, though. Ooh.
But before we jump into this next episode, that last episode was fun, huh?
Yeah, dude. I had a lot of fun with that.
My favorite one yet, I think.
We're definitely gonna do more of those Wikipedia episodes down the road, because there's just so much content. I mean, we can, toss out whatever. Let us know on Twitter and Facebook what you guys thought of those.
Yeah, dude. Speaking of,
dude,
I really wanted to do. It's this article that is a list of unidentified murder victims in the U.S. Right, which kind of whatever, pretty tame. But they have these super fucked up facial reconstructions of what these people would have looked like when they were alive, and it's so hard to translate over audio only. But these things are actually fucking terrifying looking.
Uncanny Valley.
Yeah, it is kind of Uncanny Valley. Yeah.
Pip, did you have an article that you wish you could have covered or something?
Lost episode would have been Star Jelly, which is this weird muck that rains from the sky.
Similar to fucking slime mold, right? God, hate it.
Similar to slime mold is one of the explanations for it, actually. Fun fact, there's one variant of it that's just called dog vomit slime mold.
That's content. Now this is content.
You like that?
All right, we're changing the topic of our podcast from the paranormal to mold. Moldcast.
The slime mold podcast. Hey, we're the molders. What's up?
Mold? ? Yo, what's up, Mold Nation?
All right.
Any scores in the chat tonight?
Don't worry, Jake. Today we got something a little bit different. I promise you. It's
Good.
The work put together by journalist David Paulides about the disappearances around American national parks. And there's a lot to unpack here. Paulides graduated from the University of San Francisco with, I kept finding references to a bachelor's and a PhD, but I could never find what it was in. It just said a bachelor's and a PhD.
Just because the slime mold cleared the records.
That seems legit.
And he worked for the police for 20 years, and then he quit to become an investigative reporter. He started looking into disappearances because a lot of people disappear in the U.S. It's, just to give you an idea, around 600,000 people a year go missing in the U.S.
That's a lot.
Out of a total population of 325 mil, that's one person out of every 540. 0.3% of the U.S. population just goes missing every year.
So one person in your high school is just gone now.
About 80% of them are found, either dead or alive. But still, that's holy crap.
That's still 20% that are not.
Yeah, too big. Disturbingly, if not surprisingly, a large number of these disappearances are children. One such example...
you kind of explain that away. They just wander off because kids are stupid, right?
I mean...
Yeah, they get picked up by an eagle or something.
Yeah, or that. Or the slime mold.
Sometimes...
Hey, you gotta be careful. That's gonna become our brand. Right up there with Animorphs.
You got me stuck on it, dude.
Dude, maybe that's...
no, dude, it gets stuck on you.
Maybe Animorphs is the explanation for where these people disappear to, is they just transformed and dipped.
Yeah, they just fucking hawk away, dude.
So
I was gonna make the noise if you didn't. Thank you.
So, first example that I got is David Gonzalez, a 9-year-old who disappeared in Northern California's San Bernardino National Forest in 2004. He asked his mother for the car keys so he could go get some cookies from the car, which was like 50 yards away. Like, you could throw a rock and hit it. Alright, maybe you couldn't. That's a little far for that. But still, it was not very far.
You can throw a football.
Yeah.
Can you throw?
totally.
If you can throw a football 50 yards, like, I think that the CFL teams would like to speak with you.
Yeah, you're doing okay, dude.
I don't know. I feel like the aerodynamics are better for a football than a rock. Now, if you get a football-shaped rock, you're talking.
No,
King of the forest.
The fuck, dude.
that was the final prank that Lucy
don't
had
read
for
into
Charlie
it.
Brown, but she never got to pull it off. Was that instead of moving the football, was just having a rock.
Oh, break your foot.
So he asked his mom for the keys, and she tosses them to him, and she turns around to take in the area. Right? She looks back, and he's gone. The cookies were still in the locked vehicle, so he didn't even make it there. And that's wild, because you're saying, like, oh, the kid might have wandered off. Are you going to wander off before you get the cookies?
No.
Real?
You
Yeah,
get
that
the
kid
cookies,
was
then you
cookie
wander off,
motivated.
dude.
Yeah, you get the cookies,
Like-
you're eating the cookies, you see something, you're like, ooh, and then you wander off. You don't...
Yeah. If I'm on a mission to get cookies, that supersedes anything that can possibly happen until I get those cookies.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the vehicle was still locked, so he didn't make it there. I couldn't find anything that was up with, like, the keys, like if they found them on the ground
I
or
was
what.
just thinking, like,
But
because then the mom's just stuck there.
Yeah, how'd you get home, dude?
But rescue teams spent 9 days combing the woods for him, but they couldn't find anything. Nothing. Finally, almost a year later, they found the boy's remains about a mile from the campsite, and it was chalked up to a mountain lion attack.
Like, but would the kid, like, probably yell? Wouldn't you hear the animal make noise? 50 yards,
mountain
it's within
lions-
earshot, right?
Mountain
yeah.
lions are lions, right? They are predators through and through. It's a big cat, right?
Sure, but, like, the act of a lion attacking something, there's sound involved. And the kid would
mean,
probably
unless they-
fucking scream because he's bit by a fucking lion, right?
Well, it depends on where it gets you, right? If you're 9 years old and the mountain lion goes for the neck, I don't know how much scream is going to escape.
That's a fair point.
But, like, you would
And those
still
things are
hear,
quiet
like,
predators.
I don't know, the sounds of the mountain lion tearing his flesh, or you would hear something. Is my point, right?
Maybe.
I don't know. You'd
I mean,
think
it-
you'd
it
find
would ne-
blood or something.
They're
at least.
predators, right? They know to go for like the smaller, weaker ones, and then take them away to a safe place where they can be eaten.
That is
So that
true.
would kind of explain.
Right, but that
how-
doesn't disprove that there would be sound involved.
Yeah, wouldn't you find blood, and wouldn't the act of dragging a 9-year-old child through the forest create like a trail of broken twigs for people to find?
Yeah,
See, now that one does make it a little bit weird. I don't know how proficient the trackers are of the rescue teams.
I mean, you don't gotta
if they
be
were-
you don't gotta be like super intelligent to be like child missing, follow the blood trail, right? And that would
Yeah.
definitely be a thing.
Yeah,
Because the
and
dude probably died on impact, right?
a 9-year-old child is still big enough to, like, that's gonna leave a trail in the underbrush.
Yeah.
You would think. So, if it's not a mountain lion, what was it?
Good question. So, the oddities in that case are pretty notable. I mean, a 1-mile trek doesn't sound like a whole lot. But 1 mile flatland and 1 mile through a forest are totally different beasts, especially
Right.
for a child.
Yeah.
Another child, named Douglas Legg, disappeared in 1971. His family was headed out to the Adirondacks. That's
The what?
east. It's a mountain range in the east. To a little piece of land that they owned and were intimately familiar with. Doug's uncle spotted poison ivy and told him to go back to the cabin and put on some long pants to protect himself. They were basically inside of the cabin. They were just like a little ways into the woods. But Doug never returned. His family described him as a mini woodsman, and he had spent hundreds of hours in that exact forest. Like I said, like they owned a piece of land, and they would always go out there and spend time out there. And he was just gone. He was tracked by one of the largest search and rescue operations ever conducted in the Adirondacks. With over 600 people, packs of bloodhounds being used. Apparently, the dogs followed Doug's scent over 30 miles, 48 kilometers, through difficult terrain. They did spot some bear-like tracks, but that's not unusual for the area. I'll also point out that bears have been known to drag their prey away, but 30 miles seems kind of excessive.
Yeah, it's very, very far. Once again, how do these children not scream when they're being attacked by animals?
Good question. And they never found Doug's body.
I don't know.
Ever.
I mean, it might have been one of those. You've all, I'm sure, heard. If you are about to be attacked by a bear, play dead. Maybe that's what it was.
Okay, but how about
his thing?
How about when you are being currently attacked by a bear? Would you not fucking scream? I would scream.
I would probably scream. I don't know. Terror can also silence people pretty solidly.
Yeah, but
True.
pain always like initiates a response, right?
Oh, yeah.
Shock.
Usually that response is quite vocal.
Especially in kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Fun fact about bears, though, they have proven to have a sense of beauty, and there's been pictures of bears just like vibing and taking in the view.
Did you know that seals and sea lions are technically in the bear family?
That tracks.
Dude.
They seem kind of bearish.
I mean, they're bears
Sea
that are
bears.
adapted to water.
Sea bears. Although the bear would have to like pick him up though to not have tracks, right? 'Cause, I mean, you drag the prey. There's still a trail.
Yeah, like I was saying,
Yeah.
like that's gonna leave. So I don't know. I mean, like I said, they used dogs and shit. They couldn't find anything. They
Yeah.
followed the trail for a little and then just gone. No body, no evidence, nothing.
Bigfoot.
Maybe. This kind of thing.
Maybe it was a big feet.
Dude, this kind of thing has a ton of examples. You look away for a second, someone just gone. Bodies found in impossible locales. People would report weird things nearby, like bear-like tracks or a bear man. Legitimately, I found like half a dozen cases talking about seeing like bear man or like a wild man and stuff like that.
That sounds a little like those skinwalkers, actually.
Ooh, is that something that we're gonna have to cover soon? Oh my.
I hate to
I
invoke
think
the
so.
name again because I hear that makes them more powerful. But yeah, we're kind of barreling towards it.
But
Get it? Because of bear.
God damn it, dude.
So, here's another one talking about like bears and stuff like that. Casey Hathaway. This isn't technically missing 411 because it's not a national park, but let me lay it on. Casey Hathaway was a 3-year-old boy who disappeared from the woods near his North Carolina home. Search and rescue teams came and they combed local areas, despite dropping temperatures and cold rain. For 3 days, they searched for the 2-foot 4-inch, 25-pound boy. They found him tangled in a thorn bush less than a mile from his home, claiming that a bear had cared for him while he was exposed to the elements. They didn't find any evidence of a bear, but that was his story. This little kid said, "Oh, I was out in the wild and a bear took care of me in the rain."
I kind of believe it. There's definitely documented cases of animals caring for the young of other creatures, right? Kind of adopting them, but like, oh, that's a baby, I have to protect it. That's why babies are cute.
I believe that mammals generally share that response, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
they'll also eat
But,
babies
like-
for sure, but
Yeah. I was gonna say, but bears have been known to eat children and other people.
true.
What was
Well,
the-
hashtag not all bears.
What was the differentiating factor in this one, though? Why was this bear like, you know what, dude? You're cool, kid. Let me hang
Maybe
out.
the bear wasn't hungry and had an abundant food source elsewhere.
Also, I remember reading something about the cries of kids that are mammals, like mammal children will all cry in like a certain pitch to elicit a parental response in nearby mammals.
Really? I
It
didn't know
could
that
be.
one. That one's neat.
It's why like kittens and puppies they make such cute little noises and you just want to take care of them.
Oh. Huh.
And you
Makes
can
sense.
get animals to take care of the young of other animals. And
Maybe
stuff
that's
like that.
why. Maybe the kid was just young enough to just naturally do that pitch to invoke protection from the bear.
Crying because the kid was crying because it was lost, and that was how the bear found it instead of like while it was hungry looking for food.
Could be.
Maybe. Just the situation.
What if it
So when
wasn't
are
a
we
bear?
gonna start? Yeah, maybe when are we gonna get a line of like whistles that make that right pitch? So if an animal comes at you, you can be like, "Shoot," and it's like, oh, it's a baby.
Oh, poor little
A crying
guy.
whistle, dude.
Yeah, yeah. Baby mammal whistle.
So, with this many kids going missing, and trust me, it's a lot of kids over the years, you'd think that the park agencies would make missing persons a priority of some kind. But as Paulides has tried to get information from the Department of Information via the Freedom of Information Act, he has been railroaded over and over again. To quote from an interview between Paulides and author George Knapp, Paulides said, "So I filed the Freedom of Information Act request against the Park Service, National Park Police, asking them for numbers on the total number of disappearances in their parks, monuments, their names, and their locations. I get a call back from their attorney asking me why I wanted that information. Well, I knew at the time that that cannot be used as a qualifier for if the information is released or not. And I asked him that, and he says, no, we're not interested in that. We just want to know why you want it. And I told him that it was research. And he said, well, we don't have that information. But if you want it, it's going to cost you $1.4 million.
Well, I
We
think
don't
the
have it,
charge for
but we
is-
have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know about that one.
So he says, well, I've published books, and there's a subset in the Freedom of Information Act that says that if you're a published author, you can get this information for free. And the attorney goes, I'll get back to you. 6 weeks later, he calls back and he says, well, your books aren't in enough public libraries to qualify.
Weird.
Out technicality'd.
Yeah, dude. Loophole the loophole.
Why are they blocking?
It's a good question. Why are they blocking?
Why are they blocking?
They'd lose their Hunger Games contestants if they let them have some information.
I mean, there's certainly part of it has to be that you don't want to drive away visitors to national parks, right?
Sure.
I mean,
But
yeah.
but there's the
Everyone
information that
kind
people
of
go
knows.
missing in national parks is already out there. Him
Yeah, everyone.
doing this research paper has no effect on that, right?
True.
Yeah, it's I don't remember the term was, like a public secret or something,
An open secret.
where an open secret where everyone kind of already knows that lots of people go missing in the parks.
Well, I mean, it shouldn't surprise anyone that areas that are remote and close to the wilderness have higher rates of, like, people disappearing and stuff than in the city. I mean, that's just gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that's part of it. But the numbers still seem like too inflated. Attempt by the government to wiggle out of giving the information away is suspect at best.
Yeah, dude. Government pretty sus.
Government
Yeah.
sus.
Government's always been pretty sus, though.
Fair, especially the American government.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, we got disappearances. I mean, that's weird, but it's the inherent danger of the wilderness, like I said, especially with kids. I mean, especially if it's some kind of predator. Predators like to go for the smaller options, like we were saying, especially if that option's alone.
Yo, I just figured out where all the kids went.
Where'd they go?
They got taken to a privately owned island.
Uh-oh.
Could you hear my eye roll, dude? Did you hear it?
I could feel it
Brought to
through
the
the ether.
brought to
I'm
the
glad.
Dolce underground base and given psychic powers.
Yep.
Girlfriend and I actually found a book at Goodwill the other day. Oh, we go back to Goodwill. Found a book at Goodwill that was about raising psychic children. And it was
Go
very
on.
serious, and the back of the book was about, oh, they're here. whether you call them violet children or psychic children or even children of Oz.
Oh, the Indigo kids.
They are here and they are spreading their message of love across the entire world. And I was like, go on.
My was it the school therapist in my middle school thought I was one of those psychic kids.
Oh.
I truly marvel at the adult professional mind that has undergone enough education to be like a counselor at a school in Canada. I'll give like in Canada in like the 90s and 2000s. Getting a kid in there who's like, you know, maybe a little awkward or a little depressed or what have you, you know.
This is a weird kid.
Teenage stuff. Yeah. And just being like, oh, this one's a psychic for sure. Like 100%. Like, I'm calling Dr. Xavier right now.
Yeah, can I get more meetings with this kid? This kid's a psychic. He's got a bright future. I don't know. This person's kind of weird. I don't want to go to the therapist.
I want to know what percentage of kids that she said were indigo kids were later diagnosed as being somehow on the autism spectrum. What percentage compared to the percentage?
I'm pretty sure it's like 100%.
This kid's not making eye contact with me because he knows that I know that he's a psychic. 100%.
Just really obsessed with geometry at the time.
You got in there and started spouting off about triangles, and the counselor
was like, no, I can see, I can visualize all the base shapes that everything's made of. Like, that one's that, and that's that, and that's a trapezoid attached to a rectangle. And she's like, this kid is psychic.
Truly incredible.
It's so fucked up.
It wasn't just like, wow, this kid's spatial reasoning is developing, you know, like they're seeing like the shapes in everything and how it all fits together, and that's like a powerful
just psychic.
Skill. They're psychic.
This kid is gifted. His peace and love will change the world. No, it's just an autistic kid.
I just like shapes, dude. Leave me alone.
Please, I just really like geometry.
They're just like shapes.
Oh, man.
Don't train me as a psychic. I've tried. I don't have any powers.
Okay, here's some deep lore from me. I have a really vivid memory in elementary school of having some random dude named Mr. Brown that our teacher would bring in. Like, he came in like 3 or 4 times and tested us for ESP. He would like, yeah, like we would do like the card flipping where we'd set up a screen and one person would have a set of cards with symbols and you'd like pull cards and the other person would guess what it was, and you'd have to write down like what the card was and what they said it was and then tally up scores at the end to see if anyone was psychic. And like we did this a couple of times.
You just brought back like a memory. I think I went through that same card.
Yeah.
One of them was a star and like a hollow square and a triangle.
Yeah.
And a circle.
Like wavy lines.
So you have a game of chance, and if you get most of them right, then all of a sudden you're telepathic. Is that basically what we're going with here?
Bro. Yeah, that's how math works.
Dude. Yeah, that's just like
if you get a
statistics,
statistically
dude.
significant. Yeah, above the statistical norm of figuring out which is which.
That means there's
just luck.
Then you're one of the blessed children that will usher in a new age of peace and love.
You're part of the X-Men now.
You think Elon Musk was an indigo child?
Probably. The techno king of Tesla can do whatever he wants, dude.
To get us back on track here.
Where were we?
The article.
Way out
Missing
weeds.
children. Yep. Not ESP children though.
Yeah,
maybe I don't know.
Indigo children will be a different episode.
Every once in a while, I just get that memory of Mr. Brown coming into class. He was like real tall and pale and thin with like a white mustache and white hair. But he would come into the classroom just super weird, and the teacher would be like, yeah, he's like running some tests, and then we'd all get a deck of cards and he'd pair us off, and it was like, I mean, it was a free class. It was better than doing English or whatever, but Yeah, how weird. Anyways, let's look at the story of Keith Parkins, a 2-year-old who went missing from his home in Ritter, Oregon in the middle of winter 1952. He'd been playing outside with his jacket on, but just vanished from the family's front yard. I don't know why a 2-year-old was outside alone, ever, but...
It's 1952,
Different
dude.
time.
Different time. Yeah. Can they walk? All right,
Built
you know what?
different.
Just don't go on the street. Be back by supper. So, they assembled a search party, and they followed the boy's tiny little footprints in the snow for a little bit, before the tracks just stopped. No human tracks, no animal tracks, nothing. 1 second, there's 2 little feet prints walking away, and then blank snow.
Picked up by a fucking bird, dude.
Dude, I guess
Yeah, I was gonna say big eagle.
he was found 19 hours later, jacket off, face down in the snow, alive. 15 miles from his home.
Which
That's really
bird is
far.
that picks things up and drops them to try and kill them?
A lot of birds will do that. Bald eagles are really famous for knowing that and knocking things off cliffs. If like a kid
Yeah.
is standing near a cliff, it'll just dive bomb it and knock it off.
Big bird just picks up the kid, trying to drop him. He's got that big puffy jacket in the snow. Pats him down. He just lays
The
there.
marshmallow jacket
like-
just bounces off, dude. Immune.
But I mean, man, have you ever seen a bird of prey's talons?
Yeah.
There's mark.
Yeah,
There'd be
Sharp.
marks.
Sharp. Was there? Do we have a picture of the jacket,
No,
or was that just overlooked?
but the kid was found fine, like
Hmm.
unharmed.
Jacket stopped the bullet. I mean the claw.
The bullet. It's actually just a Kevlar jacket.
It's so
That's how they
boring.
made him in 1952, dude, just in case.
Different times.
It was a different time.
So, Les Stroud, Survivor Man, my personal hero, actually filmed a segment with David Paulides for the Missing 411 documentary, where he showed just how impossible it would be for a fucking 2-year-old to make that trek in those conditions.
Yeah, actually, though.
The crazy thing here is, children aren't the only ones that go missing. I mean, most of the children, but not exclusively. In 1981, 84-year-old Maurice Damitz was topaz hunting with a friend. They reached a fine excavation point.
Hold on, topaz hunting?
Yeah, he was looking for topaz.
Just out in a field, like, oh, there's one.
Yeah, like a little dig site. And you just start kind
As you
of
do.
That's
excavating.
bad. I didn't know you could do that.
It was the 80s. It was a
did.
different time.
Damn.
So they reached a fine
Just get a gem.
They reached a fine excavation point, a locale that Native Americans said was haunted by evil spirits. That's where you want to look for your gems. And they started
Or your
digging.
skinwalkers.
Oh yeah. Maurice had bad knees, so his friend actually had to help him find a suitable dig site and like sit him down. And then his friend walked off, found a separate dig site. When it's time to leave, his buddy walks over and says, "Hey, we should pack up." Walks back. They pack up their things at their separate dig sites. But when the friend returned, Damitz was gone. His friend honked the vehicle horn, yelled, looked around, but Damitz was nowhere to be found. He couldn't have walked on his own, so where the hell did he go? Police investigated, search parties combed the area, but no sign of him was ever uncovered. An 84-year-old man with limited mobility, just gone.
They didn't find anything to do with him, hey? He just
Nothing.
absolutely disappeared.
Yep.
Did they ever find them?
Nope. Nothing. No body, no clothes, no footprints, nothing. Just like he just snapped his fingers and vanished.
It's really weird.
Yeah.
It is weird.
And it gets weirder because some people
A little part of me wants to do it, you know?
go missing.
To be the missing person. Yeah, just to like see what's out there,
Right.
what's doing it, and
Well-
witness it, and know.
I'll tell you this, man.
But then I'd be gone, right? That's the price.
Here's someone who didn't, like, they went missing and were found. In February of 1977, 24-year-old Stephen Kubacki was cross-country skiing near Lake Michigan when he sat down to rest. Upon rising, he couldn't find his own tracks. He remembers walking through the snow, numb and exhausted, and then blacking out. Suddenly, it was spring. He was laying in a grassy field in the middle of a forest wearing someone else's clothes. Beside him was a stranger's backpack containing some glasses that weren't his and some other stuff that wasn't his. He's like, what the... So he hikes to the nearest town, which turned out to be Pittsfield, Massachusetts, about 700 miles away from where he'd been skiing. He had family in Pittsfield, and they were in shock when they saw him because he'd been missing for 14 months. It wasn't...
Someone kind of like onset amnesia thing or something?
Yeah, like, I don't... Like the official explanation was amnesia, but it's really weird for someone to lose total memory for over a year. Kubacki actually went on to get a PhD in psychology, and he wrote at least one book about alternate universes.
That's an interesting theory, actually.
Yeah, because this...
I was going to put forward the theory about, like, maybe he's in the land of fairies or something, because time works different there, too.
Yeah,
and you can just kind of slip in there sometimes, I've heard.
It's so crazy to me. 14 months. Because, like, you know, it's February, and then all of a sudden it's spring. You're like, oh, it's been, like, 30 days. It's been 60 days. It's been 90 days.
Nope.
I can't believe
Plus
I was
a
gone
year.
for so long. Yeah, you were gone for over a year. What?
Yeah. The idea of being able to, like, slip into these other universes or, like, pocket dimensions or whatever, like, that's always been something I've loved about sci-fi, right? Those kind of stories. So I really would like to know more about the actual application of that shit.
Oh man, I'm at significant risk of sounding like a crazy person, but I feel like I've done that at least once.
Yeah, you always sound like a crazy person, though. To be fair.
Yeah.
Part of
all
the
right.
charm.
Well, nothing further to lose then, I guess.
Yeah,
I woke
send
up
it.
once. Yeah, I woke up once, and it was as though I was waking up for the first time. It was weird. It was like I had like literally no memory. I like a baby, like looking at it with our own hands and like, what is this? And before it, like, my mind like kind of rushed back to me, and I remembered like who and where I was, but the world didn't feel right for weeks after that.
I've definitely had similar feelings, but it's usually just me being hungover.
Yeah, but it was just like I had like absolutely zero memory, and it was weird. It was like I woke up in another me.
It's so weird to feel, dude.
Yeah.
It was profoundly weird, and it stuck with me for a long time.
Now,
One of those days where you wake up and you're in a parallel universe and you're not sure what's different, but something is.
you walk outside and everyone's face is upside down except yours.
Wouldn't yours
That
be
would fuck
upside
me up.
down then?
Yep. And now
Yeah.
he's a celebrity. So, finally, we have a case from the 2000s. This is the case of David Paulides, a Canadian man who was skiing with his friends in New York. He wanted to do a solo run down the mountain before lunch, and his friends were like, all right, well, we'll meet you at the chalet. So they go to the chalet, they have lunch. A few hours later, he hasn't shown up. They're starting to get nervous. So they tell staff that he's missing. They start a manhunt. 130 searchers comb the mountain, never find him.
That's scary as hell. I've definitely done a solo run down a mountain before.
Yep, just gone.
That could have been me.
6 days later, his wife received a call from an unfamiliar number. The voice sounded staticky and broken up, but it was Danny. He wasn't making any sense, though. He was just gibbering. She begged him to call 911, so he did. He couldn't tell them where he was, so he just described his surroundings. Eventually, emergency services found him, still in his ski gear, with a brand new iPhone and a haircut. Someone had cut his hair. He was in...
Where'd the hair go?
I don't know. He was in Sacramento, California, 3,000 miles away from where he vanished, literally across the United States. No idea how long he'd been gone, where he was, and he badly needed medical attention for his exhaustion and dehydration. The official
Now
theory...
that's what I call cross-country skiing.
The official
Holy shit,
theory
dude.
is that he was kidnapped in the back of a big red truck. But they They never found any evidence for that. That was just like something they said, and everyone was like, "Yeah, sure. I mean, that explains how you traveled 3,000 fucking miles."
Yeah, I mean, how else would you actually like rationalize it, right?
Aliens? Maybe they're getting more creative with their abductions.
Yeah, you give you a little haircut after the fact too.
They're just deliberately making it weird. I think the FBI does that, doesn't they? They do deliberately weird stuff so that nobody believes them.
That sounds like something the FBI would do.
Sure. Yeah.
So, there's a lot of
High strangeness.
there's a lot of theories about this. I mean, the natural options lead the way, right? Starvation, exposure, animal predation, falling into a chasm, tree wells. Do you guys know what tree wells are?
Never heard of
That's
a
a
tree
hollow
well.
tree, right?
No, a tree well is an area that sometimes opens up around the base of a tree, and it kind of goes straight down into the ground.
Oh,
And
like-
they can be 7 or 8 feet deep before you really start hitting root systems that stop you. And it isn't a hazard so much in summer because you see like a pit and you're like, I'm not stepping on that. But in the winter, snow can pile up over them, and then people go and they try to seek shelter under a tree because it's snowing, and they
And you
fall
fall,
in
yeah.
head first.
Oh.
And then they don't find your body until spring when everything thaws. And they're like, hey, why are there skis sticking out of that tree? What's up with that?
Oh, it's a dead guy. Okay.
But yeah,
That explains it.
I'm terrified of tree wells.
Yeah, it's
I
like a
didn't know about
quicksand
those.
kind of thing, dude. It's really weird.
I don't go out in the forest really during winter that much, so I'm statistically unlikely to encounter them. That
You're
feels
safe
like it's
from
in the
the tree
same
ball.
vein as sinkholes, where the ground just like opens up
Yep.
and swallows someone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually really terrifying.
Absolutely scary, yeah.
Yeah.
So, Paulides himself has theories involving Bigfoot, given the remote locale
Hey.
and the unusual circumstances.
Sure. Yeah.
He's noted that a map of where people have disappeared, overlaid with a map of reported Bigfoot sightings, has considerable overlap. But
As you do.
his detractors are quick to point out that, like, yeah, wilderness is going to have a lot of Bigfoot sightings with unexplained animals and stuff, right? People out there looking for them. And they're
Sure,
also a
yeah.
dangerous place where people can get lost. So, of course, you're going to have higher levels of both those things. They accuse Paulides of forming his own narratives, of cherry-picking cases that suit his desired outcomes, and excluding cases that don't. Maybe one day we can interview him and ask his opinion on some of these things. He has a lot of coast-to-coast AM appearances, but I'd love to hear from him myself. That'd be such
Yeah,
a
that'd
great
be-
interview.
That'd be a banger, dude.
That would be good.
I bet you his speaking fees
Is
are
Queb-
ridiculous.
Is Quebecy? Is he still around? Can we get him on there and hear about his alternate universe theory? Because I have a personal interest in that as well.
I don't know. I mean, he'd be like in his 80s now. Maybe. I'll look into it. Another theory that we mentioned, like Brooke was saying, like alternate universes. The idea that maybe someone could slip from our universe into a parallel one, where they could exist there for a time and then return, possibly in a distant location or time. And other
Yeah.
than the whole, like, weird dimensional travel sci-fi aspect, this is not the worst explanation I've ever heard.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Like, as far as either like dimensional travel or Bigfoot, I'm more likely to believe in dimensional travel. You know?
Yeah,
The accidental dimensional travel also fits in with a lot of kind of folklore about fairies, about wandering through the woods and all of a sudden the woods are different
yeah. It's
Sure.
100 years later.
and you can't find your way back. Yeah.
Because I feel like. Okay, so like take my disbelief of Bigfoot out of it for a second, right? I feel like if you were captured or attacked by Bigfoot, like you'd just be dead, right?
I don't know,
Typically
maybe he's
speaking.
some kind of weird forest pervert and he just wants to keep you as a pet.
Could be, maybe. But regardless, like you would not wake up across the country with a haircut and a new phone, right?
Sure, I mean, maybe Bigfoot just gave him a ride, just gave him a bunch of ketamine, and they partied.
Piggyback?
It's the
Did they
Bigfoot
check
experience
the
I
phone?
want, dude.
Here's the
Did
question.
they check the phone? Was there any selfies of him and Bigfoot?
I want to know if the haircut when he was found was any good. Was it a good haircut?
Yeah.
He just has a fucking mullet now, dude.
Dude,
It's just a bowl cut.
what if he had one of those, like way before they were popular, one of those haircuts that's, like, shorter on the side with the fade, and then you got, like, the designs, like, etched in with the razor?
Give me a sick fade, dude.
Give me a sick fade, bro. The year's
He
2004.
woke up
I'm
14
still-
months later and he had dreads. What happened?
So, the final theory that people have is, like, a fugue state. Fugue states
It's
are
like a
really...
Breaking Bad thing, right?
Yeah, they're super uncommon, and they're usually marked by an inability to remember what happened and by sudden travel. It is usually, but not always, precipitated by some kind of traumatic event. There's several stories that I found of people just, like, wandering off and being found days, weeks, or even months later, just wandering about. I found one case of a woman who wandered off 3 times, and the third time was, like, 5 or 6 years ago, and she's never been found.
Huh.
Yeah, she would just, like, dissociate and go into a fugue state and not remember where she was or where her home was or, like, what she was doing. And she would just be like, well, I guess I'm going. And she would just travel somewhere.
All I know is I must go.
Yeah.
Huh. That one sounds closer to dementia, but that doesn't track for all the other people going missing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But, yeah, the sudden trauma could be realizing you are deeply lost in the middle of the woods. And that sudden panic might be enough for a fugue state.
I mean, I feel like the fugue state would cause you to go missing in the woods, wouldn't it? Because, like, most
Yeah,
of
I
these
mean-
stories are like, I'm a child and I'm going to the car, or I'm a child and I'm outside of my cabin, and then I'm not, you know?
Yeah, there's a lot of variance in this that makes it hard to find kind of one unifying explanation for
Yeah,
this.
I don't think it is one unified explanation. I feel like there's a ton of different circumstances for every single case. That means a ton of different, like, actual occurrences, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it sounds way more plausible.
the problem with putting all the disappearances under an umbrella like this is that then people start thinking there must be one answer instead of it being, like,
Yeah.
a percentage game.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I have no idea, dude. It's so actually terrifying to think that you could just black out and wake up 14 months later. That's the one that's sticking with me out of all of these. That's like, that's actually terrifying. Like, I'm so scared of that happening to me.
Yeah, but, oh man, and even just like, even if everything is fine, even if you go for a walk and you come back and it's 14 months later, you have to deal with that.
Yeah,
Right?
the
It's like a year
mental
of, like,
trauma.
missed rent, all your stuff, everyone thinking you're
Yeah.
gone.
Sure, there's that. I was gonna say the trauma of, like, losing a year of your fucking life, dude. Losing a year of time. Like, what? What
Yeah.
the fuck?
All your bills.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, the money's
your
one thing,
lease.
but
Where's
the
your
mental
stuff?
abuse is another thing.
Well, I think that about does it for this week. Thank you all for tuning in, as always. This has been Lot, Pip, and Jake. There you go, boys. I fixed that for you.
Thanks.
Oh, thanks.
And just remember, everything has an element of the unknown. Good night.
Stay safe.